Welcome to Close Listening. I'm Zach Morgenstern, joined as always by silent co-host Ludwig von B. This is an album called Wildflowers by Tom Petty, produced by Rick Rubin, produced some truly great songs. But today I'm not going to talk about Wildflowers. I'm trying to get over this compulsive tendency to want to review every album I get out of the library or otherwise add to my collection. I'm trying to experiment with different mediums. Sometimes I'm just writing down my album reviews and letting them stay in written form. So, other than saying Wildflowers is a melancholy but very endearing, amazing album, you should absolutely check it out. I'm going to talk about the hidden bonus album on this edition, which is called All the Rest. After Tom Petty died, his daughter Adria helped put together a selection of recordings, I believe all from the Wildflowers recording sessions, that either had never been released or had been kind of indirectly released. Some of them ended up on a soundtrack album a few years later. The song Leave Virginia Alone was sold to Rod Stewart, who recorded it and did a good job despite apparently not being a real Tom Petty fan. So I'm going to talk about this quasi-album, this Wildflowers Part 2, a collection that really shows that, professional artists have a lot of stuff in their back catalog, or at least Tom Petty is, and you wonder how it managed not to see the light of day. I certainly don't have the patience to keep anything I record of remotely good quality in a vault somewhere. So let's talk about the tracks on All the Rest. So All the Rest opens with a song called Something Could Happen. Now, when I think of Tom Petty, I think of his voice as having a kind of swagger to, bringing that real rock and roll energy. But here he's singing not in a quiet, not in a weak, but in a high-pitched, sensitive voice. It's not quite falsetto, but it has that falsetto feel to it. The song Something Could Happen brings a unique combination of shyness and optimism to the table. And like many of the tracks on the original album, Wildflowers, it brings in a lot of instruments, but none of them are bombastic. So you're almost left with the impression, as producer Rick Rubin intended, that you're only listening to a singer and a guitar. So, like the songs one would hear on the Wildflower album, this really brings out another side of Tom Petty. This was his chance to show a vulnerable side of him to the world. And that vulnerability continues into track number 2, Leave Virginia Alone, which I think might be about someone he knew in his life. One hears the title and one thinks of Virginia Woolf, but I don't really think it's about her. It's just a song, I guess, about empathizing with a misfit, and I think that's pretty unusual in Petty's catalog. I think he's usually someone who writes in the first person, and if you look at the songs that made the main Wildflowers collection, they're pretty much all in the first person. So it's interesting that he's singing this song here, and apparently he sold it to Rod Stewart because he or someone in the production team decided it was too similar to something he'd done already. I can't imagine what that is. I mean, it's broadly thematically similar to Only the Losers or Zombie Zoo, but there are so many thematically similar and much less interesting rock and pop songs out there. It feels like a real shame that Tom Petty's version of Leave Virginia Alone did not see the light of day in his lifetime, because he creates a fairly developed for a pop song character in Virginia, and you just hear that gentle empathy in Tom Petty's voice and that excellent Rick Rubin production, not just guitars, but with the gentleness of a just guitars track. Love it. Track number 3 is a bit more mysterious. It's called Climb That Hill Blues. There's a bit of a vaguely gospel feel in the lyrics, but yeah, it's just a sense, it's just the hopelessness or challenges of everyday life turned into some kind of mysterious chant about a person surviving in a world full of natural disasters. Track number 4 is Confusion Wheel, and I felt this is like 50% George Harrison's All Things Must Pass, that sort of spiritual message that nothing is permanent, so we know even though joyful things will end, painful things will end as well. but it's also 50% depression, like a lot of the material on here and on the Wildflowers collection. And when you get mix that sort of spiritual optimism with a more depressed realism, you get this weird psychedelic output, this mood that's hard to put in one place, but it's kind of beautiful when appreciated from the outside. Track number 5 is a bit more of a conventional pop song. It's called California. It's a song that's both about California and not really about California, because other than some minimal description in the third verse, we don't really learn anything about the state of California. We just know that it's a meaningful place to the singer of the song. There's also a sense of that impending doom from Climb That Hill Blues or Confusion Wheel. It's kind of a silly line. California's been good to me. I hope it don't fall into the sea. But in the context of the rest of that album, that existential dread of the sea swallowing California becomes kind of real. Track number 6, Harry Green, is recorded like an old folk tune. So this one actually is just Petty strumming his guitar, singing something that sounds vaguely like Jackson Frank's Blues Run the Game. And if you look at the backstory about this one, this was about a friend of his in high school who was gay and was bullied for it. And this is only hinted at in the lyrics. Them good old boys said, "You better watch out. He's not what he would seem." And this is just fascinating in the context of Petty's biography, because you could look at him in certain moments of his career and again think he's this cool, confident embodiment of Southern culture. You know, he went through a period where he played songs with it in the background, and he was pretty quick to clarify that this was just a statement of his music coming from the South. He did not identify with the right-wing politics of the flag, and he stopped using the flag when he realized it could be interpreted that way. But it's sort of nice to see this other, even more explicitly progressive side of Tom Petty, this identifying with the underdogs and losers, you know, the fact that having long hair, which from a distance can make him just look cool, give him that swagger, made him kind of feel effeminate. Growing up, he was out of place with the people he refers to as rednecks in the song. It's just a great window for connection and a great tribute to this friend of his who meant a lot, Harry Green. Track number 7 is called Hope You Never. So this is an unusually angry breakup song given how sensitive the material is on this collection. And what's fascinating about it as a piece of songwriting is that the lyrics are simple and they snap tightly into place. You know, the rhythm of the song is solid. It doesn't feel like a rough draft at all. Yet meaning-wise, it's not a very confident song. The meaning kind of meanders, as some great breakup songs do, between affection and outright disdain for its subject. Track number 8 is called Somewhere Under Heaven. So in the sound of this one, you hear Petty's fascination with the Byrds and their Rickenbacker guitars. You have this jangly guitar sound, but unlike some of his other compositions, this one isn't a direct imitation of the Byrds sound because it creates something far bigger, this heartland epic of a girl growing up presumably poor on a farm but just finding joy in her rural upbringing. Track number 9 is a rock version of Climb That Hill Again, which, you know, the same song we heard on track number 3. It's catchy, but it doesn't have the mysterious, mystical quality that the blues version of it had. And then track number 10, Hung Up and Overdue, it brings back that very high, shy kind of voice, and you wonder, you know, was Adria Petty not able to find something that had the oomph of a closer? But then when it gets to the chorus with that unforgettable line of "We're overdue for a dream come true," it does begin to feel like a closer. This song is still sung by a shy, pessimistic, worried person, but someone trying to tell himself life will go on, all things must pass, the bleakness is going to end eventually. So again, all the rest, quite a collection, and you know, you'll buy it coupled with Wildflowers. So just a ton of good songs here. And again, just one wonders, how did this material not get released? How many other Tom Petty gems are hiding out there? how many other gems are hidden out there by famous musicians? Like, is there all this bizarre commercial strategizing behind the scene that leads to amazing songs like Leave Virginia Alone just being sold to other artists or completely forgotten? It seems absolutely bizarre to me, but I guess it's great in the sense that Adria Petty was able to honor her dad's legacy by putting out what's essentially another classic album for him. So very much recommend Tom Petty's All the Rest. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. I'm Zach Morgenstern. This is Ludwig von B. See you next time.